Hi all. We are back again with another very interesting session for all of you. So, social distancing, lockdown, isolation, all of this makes me say that gloomy days we spent day and night. Gloomy have we been all this while. Negativity lingering about, but I do nothing but complain. Do you realize or do you feel that this is the current emotional situation all of us are dealing with? Or maybe you, or maybe those living by your side? But today we have someone who is going to inculcate a word of positivity in all of us. Today we have with us someone who is going to inculcate a ray of hope in all of us. So Psychologues magazine is proud to announce that we have with us Ms Vikasni Kannan, who is a licensed an RCI licensed clinical psychologist practicing independently as well as with Youth India Foundation, and also is a school psychologist associated with Vedehi Group of Institutions, Bangalore. She completed her education with eminent institutions like She completed her education with eminent institutions like University of Delhi and Ram Manohar Lohia Hospital, Delhi. She regularly undertakes wide-ranging awareness sessions and workshops for students, parents, and teachers. She specializes in psychological assessments, psychotherapeutic interventions for mental health across all age groups. Her therapeutic work draws largely from the cognitive and positive psychology schools of thought. Through her work with clients, she aims at enhancing these strengths and bringing out the best in everyone. Additionally, she has been taking remedial classes for children with special needs for at least 3 years. She has, to her credit, a significant number of research papers presented in national as well as international conferences. Her work has also been published in the Indian Journal of Psychological Sciences. She has been previously associated with organizations like Your Dost, Generation India, Utsak Psychology Clinic, and Sensitivity Early Intervention Center. On behalf of the Psychology magazine, I extend a very warm welcome to our honorable guest speaker for the evening, Ms. Vikasni Kannan. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rishti. And thank you for that lovely introduction. A very good evening to all of you who are with us today. And I am Vikasni Kannan, as you all know, and I'm a clinical psychologist. I am feeling extremely happy and humbled to be here and share my small contribution amongst this huge panel of extremely eminent and esteemed psychologists and professionals who have always been my inspiration, and really humbled to be here sharing with you all about positive psychology. So before I begin, I would just share my screen. All right. So I want to discuss today about positive psychology skills for everyday life. So we would have often heard that psychology is just for people who have been diagnosed with disorders, who are really struggling. But I feel that positive psychology and psychology as a whole is for everybody. It's for you, it's for me, it's for all of us. And how do we inculcate these skills into our everyday lives is what I am going to focus on today. So I would briefly touch upon the history of positive psychology. How did it come about? So previously it was, like I said, always thought that only people who need repairing, so to say, who are facing some psychological illnesses or disorders are the ones who need help. So psychiatry and psychology about 50, 60 years back was really focusing on that disease model, so to say. But soon after, psychologists realized that there is also a need to focus on the strengths of people, to focus on not just the deficits, but also working on what the person already has and building upon that. And that is where the positive psychology movement came about. So it aimed at a more aimed at focusing on the strengths rather than just the weaknesses. It is interested in building the best things in life and not just repairing what is wrong with the person. And it is concerned with making lives of all fulfilling, nurturing high talent, as well as healing pathologies. So that is a more holistic view of looking at human beings. So, why did I even take up this topic? Why do we need to talk about positive psychology and what are the skills we can use? The reason lies in a wide range of researches that has shown us that actually inculcating these skills can lead to better physical health, better mental health, more fulfilling relationships, more positive relationships, improved emotional regulation, and definitely a stronger resilience, which I believe we all need right now as we're going through this crisis of coronavirus and COVID and lockdown that is happening due to it. Better sleep, reduced chances of being diagnosed with clinical depression or anxiety, and much, much more. So there is such rich evidence available in literature which shows that positive psychology has been there to help us through a lot of our life domains. So that is the reason I took this up. And now we have understood that psychology is for everybody, right? It is for all of us, and we can really use it and become our own therapists and our own mentors through these tough times. So, of course, the school of thought talks about multiple skill sets, but today I'll be focusing on major three of them, which is gratitude, mindfulness, and self compassion. Now, these are the skills which I personally have been practicing for almost a year now. And from my experience, I can say that these are skills which will take only a couple of minutes each day, but make huge strides in how we feel and how our day goes. So let's begin. All right. So let's understand what is gratitude. I'm sure everybody has heard the saying that count your blessings, thank God for all you have, uh, do prayers every day. Even in our school assemblies, we were inculcated an habit of praying and thanking God for the things that we have. So, as we grow up, as our exposure increases, as our experiences widen, we often end up narrowing our vision and looking at things which are not really right, things which may be going wrong, things which are uh, not so positive, which may be troubling us and threatening us, making us feel anxious. But what gratitude is trying to do is actually the opposite of that and broadening our vision. It's broadening our vision and making us look and divert our energies towards looking at things which are actually going right, you know. So, even for that matter, if you turn on the television nowadays and just look at any news, we will get anxious, you will get fearful, you'll get scared, and that is not a very pleasant state to be in. So that is narrowing our vision, that is making us see only things from a very, very narrow perspective. On the other hand, if we actually shift our focus and bring in that attitude of gratitude, we can broaden our horizon and look at more positive things. So all that being said, how do we actually inculcate this skill set into our life? So there are four really useful and helpful tools that we can use to do that. So gratitude journaling, three good things activities, finding the silver lining activity, and building a positive emotion net. So these are the skills which I am going to talk about. So when it comes to gratitude journaling, so it is very similar to journal writing or a diary writing, but here we are solely focusing on the positives that are there in our lives. So, how do we do that? We write down what are the three things or the three people or three situations that we are grateful for through the day. After reflecting through your day and writing that down, also incorporate an element of why. Why are you grateful for this? Why is this, why did this good thing happen? And what does this good thing mean to me? What significance does it hold for me if it has happened? So that really deepens our understanding of the positive events in our lives when we put that why into perspective. For example, something that I can that is very personal to my journal entry from yesterday is that I am grateful that I could have a great lunch because I felt very energized after that and I could really work well. So that was something that I was grateful for yesterday. And each day that can keep changing, and each to his own when it comes to journaling. Now, in journaling, we often feel that we have to, wait till the end of the day and sit before on your bed and really journal it down. But I believe that there is no right time to do your gratefulness activity. So, through the day, whenever you feel grateful, whenever you feel happy that something has happened, just write it down or just pause and appreciate that moment. And of course, you can use different modalities. You can, some people like using post-it notes, just writing it on a post-it, sticking it on their wall so that they can see it again the next day. Some people might just feed it into their mobile phones and then look at it whenever they feel like, or you can use a notebook. So feel flexible, be creative, how you wish to record your gratefulness of the day. Moving on to the next skill of gratefulness, which is three good things activity. Now, there is this pioneering psychologist called Dr. Barbara Fredrickson who's given us the broaden and build theory. Now, what does this theory say? It says that positive emotions can actually help in broadening our momentary thoughts, our actions, and the way we are attending to our surroundings. So, when we bring in that element of positive emotion into our lives, that is really broadening our horizon of not only the emotions, our actions, as well as our attention. So, how do we do this three good things activity, which Dr. Fredrickson has given us? Is that at the end of each day, just reflect back at any three good things that happened throughout the day and really be intentional of what your the about the whole process of reflection, really go in depth of how it happened, why it happened, and what did that really make you feel. Did it make you feel excited? Did it make you feel happy, or just peaceful or content? It could vary. So just reflect back with a deep intention to understand that process of the good thing, and then write it down or just think about it or just put it on a post-it note or discuss about it with somebody. And in her research, she found a really interesting thing, that was that the daily repertoire of emotions varied significantly amongst people who were resilient versus people who weren't. So, people who were resilient, their repertoire of emotions consisted of more feelings of happiness, of joy, of contentment, more good emotions, which we just spoke about, as compared to people who weren't that resilient. So, this activity can really benefit us in becoming more resilient with each passing day. Okay, silver lining activity. This is the one which I really, really like because this is the toughest one, according to me. Learning from adversities. So, when things are really going wrong, it seems as if nothing is right and I am stuck in a situation. can we just step back for a moment and look, what have we learned from this? What can I possibly learn from this and derive that silver lining from this adversity? So it really shifts the kind of lens you're looking at the situation from. Now, this could be really tough when things are going downward, and especially in times like this when things are so precarious and we don't know what is going to happen the next day. And in such times, if we really pause for a moment, step back, and look at the possible silver linings. Like for me, this time has really given me a chance to connect with my family more, to really talk to them without worrying about the timeline, without really worrying when I have to keep my call and go on to my next work, rather just being there, talking to them. So that has been my silver lining, and I'm sure we all can find that silver lining even in faces of adversities. Positive emotion net. Now, what this skill is trying to tell us is that we need to try and find moments every single day where we can increase our positive emotions. So find something which really gives you joy, which makes you laugh, which makes you feel happy and humorous, and indulge in that and really relish that moment as it comes. And research has in fact found that laughter has been found to boost resilience as well. So, and it comes free of cost. You just have to make an intent that I want to indulge in something which is going to be joyful for me, which is going to make me feel happy for sure. And social media nowadays, for the number of memes there are, for there being so many stories, so many audios, so much information and sources of humor that there are, is a great tool that we can use in such times to make ourselves feel that kind of a positivity. And of course, paying it forward. Now, paying it forward, if we are sharing that meme with somebody, if we are really sharing that the joy which we are feeling with somebody else, that adds to our net. It makes our net even stronger, because if you're sharing it with somebody, it adds on to your own happiness. Like I really love the quote which says that it is only in giving that you receive. So as much as we give, as much as we are there for other people to give them a sense of positivity, that's when it adds on to our repertoire as well. And of course, altruism and volunteering. So once in a week or once in a month, just donate to some cause which really strikes a chord with you. Be altruistic, volunteer for causes which you feel greatly for, do things for free which you're good at sometimes. So these are the things which can really bring about that positive emotion in us and that feeling of gratitude in us. All right. So now that I've discussed all of these four skills with respect to gratitude, let's look at how much time is each of them going to take up. So the gratefulness journal usually takes 5 to 7 minutes every day. The three good things activity can take about 7 to 10 minutes every day, because you really need to sit and reflect and go deep into that experience. So about 7 2 minutes every day, 7 to 10 minutes. Finding the silver lining. Now, this activity could take a few moments, a few extra couple of minutes if you really indulge in it and if you're going through a challenging day. And so you can use it every day or as and when required. And the last one, which was the positive emotion net, 15 to 20 minutes every day if you indulge yourselves in just laughing and enjoying, just dancing around, and some activities like volunteering or donations, which can be some once in a month. All right. So why did I put this up? This is to show that These activity will not take too much of time in your day, but they'll bring about great changes. So just think where you can incorporate these things in your schedule. So let's move on to the next skill set of mindfulness. Now, mindfulness, I'm sure all of us would have heard of this term again and have studied about it probably. And it is an art of paying attention. Why is it an art? It is an art because it requires skill, it requires practice, and it requires application. So it is the art of really paying attention to being in the moment, present right now, and focusing on what is happening right now. Not letting my mind waver back to the past, ruminating about it, or going to future worries, but being here. So, how do we really do that? Easier said than done, right? Our mind is so fragile, it goes here and there so easily. How do we do that? So, there are four activities which we can incorporate into our daily lives, which is first, mindfulness breathing, mindfulness meditation, micro moments and savoring, and grounding activities. So, let's look at each of them one by one. So Dr. Andrew Weil actually developed what he calls as the 4-7-8 breathing technique. So this is a really beautiful, effective technique to control your breathing. How do we really do that? So we inhale through our nose, we keep our mouth closed, we inhale through our nose very quietly to a mental count of 4. So the first count of 4 is for the inhalation. Then we hold our breath for 7 counts. We hold our breath, count up till 7, and then we exhale completely through our mouth for the count of 8. So let's imagine there is a feather on your palm and you're blowing that feather away. So what movement will you make with your mouth? That exactly is what we need to make when we are doing the exhalation. And he recommends that we try it, we repeat this process of 4-7-8 at least 4 times. So it could be more for depending on how you're feeling and what is the point that you really feel relaxed and composed and in the moment. So that is what mindfulness breathing is all about. Let's come on to mindfulness meditation. Now, meditation as a word can sound daunting, can sound difficult to do, too difficult to indulge in, because our mind can keep wandering and wavering every now and then. But let me tell you one thing, that if you really make the intent to sit and just focus mindfully for a couple of moments, it can be done. So let's look at the steps which can help us do that. First, find a relaxed, comfortable position. It's preferably if you have your back straight, your spine straight, your feet touching your ground and your arms uncrossed. That is a really perfect position to be for this meditation. And notice and relax your body. Now you bring all your focus onto your body. You notice what is going on in each and every part of your body, and just notice. We are not judging it, we are not trying to analyze what is going on, but just non-judgmentally noticing. Tune in to your breath. Now we shift our focus onto our breath. We focus on the natural flow that is happening in our breath, breathing in and breathing out. No deliberate attempt to increase the breathing or decrease it, but just being with the natural flow that is. And if your mind wanders or wavers, get your attention back. Because it is very, very natural that your mind will waver. You will have thoughts which you probably thought you wouldn't. I will definitely not think about this while meditating, but still that will come up. But that's completely all right. Just get your attention back to your breath and start focusing on it again. Now, and stay there in that position for about 10 to 12 minutes and notice your breath in silence. So, especially when somebody is feeling intense emotions, like say somebody is really anxious and tensed and worried and just cannot focus on anything else, breath becomes a really useful tool for us to start paying attention. Why is it so? Just imagine your mind as a kite, all right, or a balloon. So the kite is going here and there with the wind. As the thoughts come here, it goes here. If the thought comes from the other direction, it goes towards that direction. Now, what is our breath in this situation? Our breath is the string which is holding on to that kite. So once we really get our focus onto that string and control it, our kite comes into place. So we can really control our thoughts by paying attention on something as simple as our breath. Recognize your thoughts and emotions are fleeting and they do not define you. And this is an insight that can really free you from the negative thought patterns. I really love this analogy of how thoughts are like bubbles in a bucket. They will come onto the surface and then eventually burst and vanish away with the water. If you're not paying too much attention to your thoughts, it's similar for them. They'll come onto the top, eventually they'll just merge with the water and you won't know what you were thinking about. So it's all right. And after this activity, very important that we appreciate ourselves for actually sitting through all of it and mindfully meditating on our breath. Okay, so the next one is finding micro movements and savoring them. So finding those micro tiny movements throughout the day where you can actually indulge in mindfulness is really exciting. So this is a time, these micro movements are the times when you can engage all your sense organs completely into one activity that you're doing. So just notice and like really notice with intense attention what you're sensing in a given moment, what are the sights, sounds, smell, which ordinarily we would just probably not even notice and it'll just slip away from our conscious attention. So some of the examples of these are mindful eating, mindful drinking, mindful listening to music, bathing even. So while bathing, if you take that 5 minutes to just savor how that sensation of water falling on your skin feels like and just enjoying that moment and savoring it, that brings in a lot of difference in how your day will be. And one thing that is my personal favorite is listening to music. So through my track list, I would every day choose one song which I will listen with full mindfulness and with full savoring and just be there with that song. And that changes the intensity of the emotion so much. Grounding skills. Okay. So grounding skills are skills which will instantly help you in coming back to the present, drawing yourself back from the past or the future and coming to here and now. So again, in this, our sense organs are our biggest allies, are our friends and tools to do this. So the technique is to follow the 5-4-3-2-1 approach. So just notice 5 things that you're seeing around you. It could be trees, it could be just being in a garden, the kind of flowers that there are, just looking at the sky, or if you're at home, just looking what all is kept around you. 4 things you can hear. So engage yourself, your auditory senses into the things that are audible to you right now. Is it the sound of the fan, or is there somebody outside who's calling to you, or is there a cooker whistle that is there? So just focus on what you can hear right now. Three things you can touch. Sometimes it helps to have uh, any object in your hand and just feel the texture of that. uh, just touch some soft cloth, just touch something which is having a textured surface. Then two things you can smell. Anything, if you can smell something is cooking, you can smell that, or just put on your favorite perfume or your deodorant and smell that, because that can instantly boost your mood. And one thing that you can taste. So just go into the kitchen, get something that you can taste, that brings your focus back to the present moment, onto your sense organs. So these are skills where we can use our sense organs to really make us more mindful. All right, so let's look at each of these activities and how long will these take us. So the breathing bit will take us maybe 5 or lesser minutes every day, and it can be done anytime. How wonderful is that? You don't have to fix a time, just do it anywhere, wherever you're sitting. Then the mindfulness meditation can take a little longer, to about 15 to 20 minutes if we practice it every day. The grounding skills can take about 10 to 15 minutes every day or whenever needed. So, in situations when you're feeling a little more anxious than usual, you can use the grounding skills to feel better and to feel uh, more at peace. The savoring and the micro movement identifications can take about 10 to 15 minutes every day in any activity that you indulge. So just pick your activity for each day and devote that 10 to 15 minutes to really, really savor it. Okay, so that's mindfulness for us. Let's come on to self compassion, the third skill set that I'm going to talk about. So, in life circumstances, when things are stressful, sometimes when we can't really fix it and we are really troubled about what is going on, we can just take a moment to pause and soothe ourselves and comfort ourselves in such situations. So imagine if there is a friend or a family member who's going through a tough situation. It is so easy for us to go and help them, to be there for them, to provide them comfort, and just soothe them with whatever they need. But do we do the same for ourselves or not? Are we taking care of ourselves and our own uh, self love? So rather than attacking and berating oneself for the personal shortcomings, offering yourself warmth and comfort can really change so much. Now, cultivating compassion for others versus ourselves. Yeah. So it's so easy to be there for others, to empathize with others. But when it comes to ourselves, we really beat ourselves down so much. We give ourselves, put so much pressure on ourselves. Being compassionate means showing love and kindness to self as we do to the other person. So often, when there is something going on, there is some emotion which has really taken over us, and uh, we can go into a mode of self criticism and really beating ourselves down, and where we are saying, you're not good enough. You did not say the right things. You should have rather said this and not that. And that self critical mode can really make us feel so much worse and down. On the other hand, if we just take a moment and say that it's all right, everybody makes mistakes, and I love you no matter what. I love myself no matter what, and I can always improve. So that is where the self talk that we're doing with ourselves changes and brings the shift in the kind of energy we are letting to flow through us. And there's this beautiful quote which says, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. So, compassion is the basic necessity for everybody as humans, for others as well as for us. How do we indulge in self compassion, self love? So, there are 6 activities that I have taken up to explain this concept. One, being your friend, self compassion letters, how to write them, self affirmations, releasing statements, and taking care of ourselves and building our network. So let's look at each of these. Be your friend. So, very simple concept. Treat yourself as you would treat a friend or a loved one, not just a friend, any loved one, your relatives, anybody. So, treat yourself with the same compassion, with the same love and understanding that you would treat a friend who is going through the same situation. Just pause and reflect, what would I have said to a friend who was in a similar situation? Would I have degraded them or berated them, or would I have tried and understood them and comforted them? And do that with yourself. And your self talk that you do in these challenging situations will really determine your emotion and then eventual action that you take. Self affirmations. Now, amongst all the other skill sets, self affirmations for me personally is definitely a favorite because it instantly boosts how you're feeling, and I really love using these. Now, how do we do that? Put If you put it really simply, they are positive phrases or statements used to challenge the negative or unhelpful thoughts we just spoke about. And research has highlighted that there is a marked difference in the brain readings and increase in the positive emotions when we are practicing self affirmations. Of course, it requires regular practice. As we discussed, there's all of these are skills which need practice. Okay. So what we can do is we can write down affirmations on a piece of paper or just remember what we want to say. Stand in front of mirror each morning and just say that to ourselves. Just look into the mirror and say the things that you want to tell yourself, which is challenging the negative self talk that is going on in your mind. These are preferably need to be present oriented statements in the now. For example, saying, I am brave, I am happy, I am worthy of the good things that I'm getting in my life, I love myself, or just saying, I love you to the reflection in the mirror. And also be something related to your physical attributes. Just saying, I am beautiful, I look really pretty today, or my hair looks great today. So all these statements, what they do is they're really combating that subconscious pattern of the self-talk, which is often negative, and replacing them with more adaptive and more positive narratives. Yeah. Okay. Okay, releasing statements. Now, releasing statements are somewhat related to affirmations, but uh, they are more related to really letting go and forgiving ourselves. So, when you have a thought which is not working for you, it is really taking you on the negative route, just telling yourself that it's all right, it's okay, and forgiving yourself with the belief that everybody makes mistakes and we learn from our mistakes. So, for example, if I say that I am a horrible person for getting upset if there was a fight and which I feel really bad about, the thing that is going on in my mind is that I am such a horrible person that I got upset. Try turning it around and rather releasing yourself from that feeling and saying instead, it's okay that I felt upset. So just that moment where we forgive ourselves and let go of that statement which is holding us back can bring in a change in our perspective. Or I am a bad friend because I fought with my very dear friend. Just reflect back and say that it's all right. I got angry. I am only a human being, and I can fix this. And I can probably learn from this. Finding that silver lining, learn from this, and I can fix this. So releasing that anger or upset that you have towards yourself. Okay. Another quote that I really love is, if you want to change the way you feel about yourself, first you have to change the way you think about yourself. So that thought process really matters so much. Okay, coming on to the self-compassion letter. So this is a more extensive process as compared to the other skills that we just spoke about. What we need to do in this is that we first think about, identify some things about yourself that you're not so happy about currently, some imperfections that make you feel sad or ashamed, or you just feel that these are not good traits that I have. One, identify that, then write down what are the feelings and the emotions attached to this event that you, or the trait that you've identified for yourself. Now, once you're done with these two steps, which is identification and the emotion, identification of the event and the emotion, just stay there in the moment and understand both these things and write it down. All right. Now, after writing both of these things down, the next part is that imagine someone who loves and accepts you unconditionally, and imagine what would this person have said to you about this part of you. Okay, write a letter. Now, after you've imagined somebody, it could be a colleague, it could be a teacher, it could be your partner, it could be your parents, anybody. Imagine somebody who really loves you and is there for you always, and then write a letter from their perspective. What would they have told you if you were in this situation? How would they have been? Would they be understanding, accepting of this part of yours? What would they have said? All of that you write down elaborately in that context. After that, now you just write it all down, keep that away. That letter is away. Go take a break, walk away from it, and then come back after a while and then read it. And when I say read it with an intention to really let whatever is written there to sink in, to really feel as if it is somebody who loves us has come and told us all of these things. So don't read it just as a note that you yourself wrote a few minutes ago, but as something of a different view of looking at things and a more positive self-talk that is happening through some lens of someone who really loves you. Okay. And of course, once you're done reading it, you allow all of that to really sink in and let that experience of compassion, of feeling worthy, of feeling loved, stay there with you. Now, it is, of course, helpful. Sometimes it can be difficult to do this activity. From personal experience, I can say that shifting that perspective and writing a letter can get difficult. But it is often helpful if we remind ourselves that everybody has things about themselves that they don't like. And nobody is there without flaws. We are all humans. We all make mistakes. We all have our own set of challenges. And it's all right to have that. And in a compassionate way, ask yourself whether there are things that you could do to improve or better cope with this negative aspect. So we are not just stopping at providing comfort to ourselves, but we are taking it a little step ahead. And once we are in a better state of mind, trying to look at what are the things we can actually do to improve on these deficits that we might have, which we're not so happy about, and focus on how constructive changes could make you feel happier, healthier, and more fulfilled. Okay. Taking care of yourself, very, very important, especially in these challenging times where there is so much uncertainty of what might happen. Take care of yourself. It's a part of loving yourself and being compassionate with yourselves. It's all right to sometimes go and indulge in a guilty pleasure and just maybe sleep 2 hours later than your bedtime or just eat extra chocolates. It's all right. Take time off. No need to put yourself down with all the to do lists. Take time off, go for a walk, relax, and take that break. Okay. Do pleasurable activities. Do activities which make you feel happy, which your mind and your body associate with a sense of pleasure, with a sense of happiness and joy. Go and indulge in those activities more often. Indulge in hobbies. Now, I'm sure a lot of you would have come up again, indulge in hobbies which were long lost. And that gives such a beautiful sense of satisfaction and happiness, right? So, indulge more often in hobbies and relax and let go. Keep that time to really relax and let go of things and just stay there in that moment and just enjoy that moment. And another very important aspect of caring for yourself is building your social network. Understanding that we are never alone. You are not alone. Reach out to others, go there, talk to people, and you will figure out that everybody has problems and you're not alone. And when we are there for each other, a lot of our problems get diminished. So, building that social support system helps us reaffirm our sense of connectedness. The sense of connectedness really helps us in building our resources, our coping strategies. And of course, it helps to reframe our perceived problems within the bigger picture. So, looking at the larger picture, looking at all that is going on with everybody and how we're just tiny parts in this whole universe. And these social systems are invaluable to our well-being and to our set of coping skills repertoire. So having a strong social support, having people who you can just call up whenever you're low, is so crucial and invaluable for us as human beings. We often feel that others will probably not listen to us, probably would not want to talk to us. They're too busy in their own lives. Why should I reach out? But when you do reach out, you'll realize that all of that was just in your head. People are there to love you, to support you, to listen to you. So build that network. And of course, altruism and volunteering also becomes a part of building network where we connect to people who are like-minded. We can engage in projects which make us feel happier, in projects which are for the greater good. And that can also be a source of building our network. Okay. So how long will these skills take us? The first one, which is loving yourself, just being there for yourself, using all of that self-love, is going to take as long as you want. It depends on you how long you want to practice. So the second, which is writing your self-compassion letter, can take about 15-20 minutes, or slightly a little more, maybe about 25 minutes in some cases, only once a week or once a month, whenever you are comfortable. The self-affirmation activities can take less than 5 minutes, just between 2 to 4 minutes every day, anytime. Like, for example, today, when I had to come here, I stood in front of the mirror and used my self affirmations to feel more at peace and like really orient myself to what is going on, what is going to happen. So it can just take a couple of seconds at times when you really want to connect to yourself. And then, of course, building network a few minutes or a few hours every day, talking to people or just connecting over social media or reaching out in other ways can take few minutes or few hours depending on what you're doing. All right, so that finishes with the skill sets that we have spoken about. I would just want to summarize with this metaphor of, are we really broken vase in these times when all of us are feeling slightly low, so uncertain about what is the future holding for all of us. We might feel things are not going right, and there are so many challenges which are breaking us in different ways, emotionally, physically, mentally. Are we a broken vase, or are we really made of gold? There is this absolutely beautiful philosophy that the Japanese follow, which is of repairing things which are broken with precious metals. Now, this practice is called kintsuroi. So, if there is a utensil or an item which has broken down, they don't just throw it away, they don't give it away. Rather, they fix it back together with precious metals like gold, silver, and platinum to make it stronger than before, to make us appreciate that, there is hope. There is hope if we are ready to tap onto our inner selves, tap onto our coping strategies, to our resources, and really build ourselves up from that. That can make us stronger than ever. And that is where the magic lies. So with that, I would like to conclude my session and thank you so much for listening with so much patience, and looking forward to the question answer round. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful session, wonderfully insightful session. I need to mention that being an ardent practitioner of meditation myself, I resonated so well with the techniques and thoughts that you have shared in your talk. And also, it is very evident from the feedback that we are getting from the audience. Moving on, I would quickly pose a few questions that the audience has asked from you, beginning with the first one: how to deal with the threat that I feel every time I watch news about death, how to deal with the negativity of such a situation.
Right. I know, very valid question. And I think all of us are going through that phase where if you just put on your television, all you can see is news about the numbers everywhere. How many people have died, how many people have contracted the illness, how many have recovered. And that really takes a toll on us. And I feel the first step that you need to take, which even I took personally, was I divided my time and reduced my time from how much really do I want to watch news each day. Do I watch it for a couple of minutes just to know what is going on and what are the new regulations in place? Or do I keep watching it the whole day? So, first, divide your time. Be mindful how much time are you giving news, or any kind of information. It was not just news, it was even WhatsApp, it is even social media, which is feeding us so many statistics which are so troubling. So be mindful, what is it that you're feeding your mind? Is it good things or the bad things? So it's like a plant, if you put more water into it, it will grow. If you stop the water supply, if you just cut off the positivity from life, things will stop. So choose wisely, how much time are you devoting can you shift that time you're devoting onto things which are really making you feel happier and calmer? So yeah.
I'm sure people are going to implement the suggestion, wonderful suggestion you have made. The second one is that being a housewife, my work has doubled and I get no time for myself. I feel depressed towards the end of each day. What can I do about it?
Yes. Now, that is something that I have been hearing from a lot of females who are burdened with household chores, looking after children, taking care of their work front, and it is difficult, no doubt. And but one thing that I would want to mention here is that remember, self compassion is also about being slightly selfish. You know, you devote so much time to everybody in your life, to everything in your life, but taking out just say 10 minutes or 15 minutes, like we spoke, a lot of these activities do not take more than 10 minutes each day. Take out that 10 minutes just for yourself. You have to be a little selfish there and take out the time and do those things which make you feel happy, which make you feel you, you know, that this is my me time. So have that me time, and that will really make a lot of difference. And of course, appreciating yourself for all the great work you're doing. You know, housewives are really a superwoman right now, so appreciate yourself. Say to yourself that I did a good job, and you know, I can have my me time.
Sure, sure. Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to the next one. This person has asked, I'm the only earning member in my family. I can't sit relaxed in a position because it makes me feel guilty that I'm doing nothing about the situation. I also feel so helpless because I actually can't do anything about it. So, how to elevate my mood?
Right. I understand, given how precarious the situation is, the things might be difficult financially, emotionally, and mentally. And first, I think, is accepting that yes, things are difficult. A lot of us are facing through this dilemma. We're like in this huge experiment which nobody knows what is going on, what is the result that is going to come out of it, and we're all just guinea pigs in this experiment. So accept that yes, this is something that is there, and also look at if or not you can change this. If it is something that you can change, say if your work is not happening, you can shift online, or you can find something else which can become your source of income, then maybe shift to that. So accept and then look at what can be done. Can there be an alternative source that can make you ease that financial trouble? And then of course, indulge in activities which will make you feel calmer, because taking care of yourself is going to definitely help you in thinking also more clearly and planning better for yourself.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. The last one that I would like to pose is that I'm always at the urge of completion of my task. Whenever I sit to meditate and practice mindfulness, I feel very anxious. What do you think I can do? Because I just can't sit and I just can't even begin.
Yes. That is something that I can relate, because even I was like that. Sometimes you feel so anxious and your body is not supporting you, even if your mind is ready to meditate, and you just can't calm yourselves down. You know, the skill is, we always wait that when I'm feeling calmer, I'll go and meditate. The magic and the solution lies in the opposite. When you're the most agitated, that is the time that you should sit and meditate. It's all right if you're all over the place. It's all right if you can't focus for 10 minutes, for 15 minutes. If you can just sit and try to focus for even 1 minute, that is good enough. So 1 minute each day, and slowly building yourself up from there, and making your body more habitual to the whole process is what does the trick. you know, because there's so much physiology involved in this. It's not just our body, it's the brain as well. That when we are calmer, there are we are sending signals to our brain which is asking it to just slow down, to stop. So when we do it slowly and steadily each day, you'll definitely, I'm sure you will reach a point when it becomes really easy.
Right, ma'am. I agree with you as I have also experienced the same. So quickly, I would want to ask this last question, which has come as a special request because it is from the PPT that you just shared. What do micro moments of mindfulness mean? Please explain in some more detail.
All right. So micro movements are just tiny movements from the day which you can pick and be mindful in those moments. Those are micro moments. So like I gave an example of bathing. So if you're bathing, just get your intention that today I'm going to bathe with full mindfulness. Now this is my micro moment of the day. So sit there and just let each and every sensation come onto you, and let your sense organs really absorb all that is coming in, and listen to the sound of water, the sensation of the water touching your skin. So just indulge in that micro moment and just savor it and be there. So that is what micro moment is. I hope it answers the question.
I'm sure, ma'am, it must have gratified the curiosity of those who were asking questions and other viewers as well. And I'm sure the audience must have gathered a lot and would be implementing these positive ways in their daily life to grow out of this difficult situation. So I
Thank
take this beautiful opportunity on the behalf of Psychologs magazine to thank you and express gratitude towards you for sharing this very educational session with all of us.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Was completely my pleasure. I am uh, happy that I could bring about some small changes, probably in at least one person's life. And I think then my job is done. So
I'm
thank
sure.
you for having me.
So thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had wonderful, beautiful sessions which were very insightful, very educational for all of us, for you and for me as well. So now what do we have in store for tomorrow? Let us ask and let us hear from my friend Anuvi.
Thank you, Brishti, for such a wonderful session that you took with Dr. Vikasni Kannan. And for tomorrow, we have in back with us Dr. Walid Hussain, who will be joining us all the way from Afghanistan. And we have Dr. Virendra Pratap, the HOD of Applied Psychology from SPM College. So guys, stay tuned. Tomorrow we have even more for you. So see you tomorrow at 4 p.m.